Hello, happy Saturday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabbar here with Jared Smith. Jared, we had basically our first weekend-ish so far of NFL preseason, and some crazy things have already been happening. I am so sorry to your Jets because Zach Wilson limped off the field yesterday on the first drive of the game. He's getting an MRI today to determine the extent of what this injury is. Drake London was also hurt yesterday on the first drive of the Atlanta Falcons game. There's just a lot of injuries going on to some of these rookie players. Zach Wilson, not a rookie anymore, but still kind of, because it is the first game of preseason, the second season.
Yeah, the Zach Wilson thing. So Drake London, based on and again, we don't speculate on injuries until we get official word, but the speculation on Drake London is minor and, positive. The speculation on Zach Wilson, I would say, is mixed. Right when it happened, everyone was like ACL, ACL. Even the doctors that, tweet about these injuries were saying ACL. After the game, Robert Saleh said the ACL, he thinks, is intact. And they think they avoided the worst. But again, we don't know anything until the MRI happens. Here's what we do know. The win total got taken off the board, and we, saw some movement already when it got posted back up. If it does get posted back up after the injury, we're thinking it's going to be about a 1.5 win hit to the Jets, which completely screws my over 5.5, which I got so much, movement in my favor on over the offseason. It's such a great bet. Yeah, we're completely screwed on that bet if Jack Wilson's out for the year. But listen, LJ, this is what the preseason is. And I'll be honest, I think this night that we had with those two guys getting hurt, especially Zach Wilson, it might make teams tonight and next week a little more conservative with because it's a reaction league. They see Zach Wilson gets hurt, and all of a sudden the quarterbacks tonight are like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't play a series. Maybe we should wait another week. So keep that in mind when you're making your bets in the preseason tonight. We've already seen movement to the over. The over is 8-0 in the preseason so far. And we've seen a couple of lines flip on us because of likely player moves. But I think the preseason is still a stay away for me as we dive into that. And the Zach Wilson injury is just case in point number one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. We're going to get into NFL preseason bets because there are 9 NFL preseason games going on today. My Lions took on the Falcons yesterday, the city that I live in now. That was an interesting game, to say the least. We have NFC East player props. I know we've been breaking down different divisions. With the season right around the corner, the regular season right around the corner, we're going to dive into some NFC's player props and what we expect from some of these players. And then we have our Better Up segment, chatting MLB with John Laghezza. And that's going to be exciting because a lot of interesting things happening yesterday, especially with the Padres in two different ways. Juan Soto returning home to play the Washington Nationals. He got a standing ovation. But we're going to get into the Fernando Tatis Jr. News in a little bit. Someone is not going to be there for their postseason run this year. So lots to get into. Without further ado, Jared, let's get into it. Let's bet it. Let's start off with NFL preseason bets because I know it's still a stay away from me. There's 9 games on the slate tonight. You saw a little bit of line movement with a couple of these games. How and why?
Yeah, Chiefs at Bears, Kansas City flip from a dog to a favorite, 3.5 to -1. These are at MGM, by the way. Colts at Bills. Colts go from +3.5 to -1.5. I've been moving this week. It's been a tumultuous week for me personally. I haven't had a whole lot of time to dive into why. I'm assuming it's because quarterbacks, starting offensive linemen, receivers, et cetera, have been announced as playing or not playing for those various teams.
Yeah.
That is enough to move the line 3-4 points to go from an underdog to a favorite. The one trend is something to keep an eye on. Sorry, no, I'll say this. There's just this one trend, and then we can completely move on.
In terms of players, the Bears were saying that most of their starters are going to be playing in this game, where this Chiefs originally said Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be playing. He's now going to be playing in the first quarter, at least.
Yeah.
So
that's why the Chiefs are on flip, because Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that makes complete sense. The over is 8-0 in the NFL preseason thus far. Does that mean the overs are going to all hit today? Probably not, but you are starting to see reactions from the sports books. Of all the games on the board today, not one game has seen a total drop. every single game but one has gone up by at least a half a point. What you will likely see right now, most of the totals are in the 30s. They're all in the 30s. You will likely see a big jump into the second week of the preseason, and a lot of those numbers will get into the 40s. If you recall from last year and prior years, about 45 is your average total in a regular season NFL game. 46 maybe a little bit recently because the scoring has been up. But I think you'll start to see these totals get into the 40s really soon, and that's probably when the unders will happen. So keep an eye on those totals. Right now, they're still in the mid to high 30s, and I think there's still maybe some value to the over in some select spots. But they're going to move those totals real quick because the overs, public loves to bet the overs, and the overs have been hitting so far, 8-0 in the preseason.
Yeah, 9 preseason games going on today. And how about them Ravens in the preseason? They're looking pretty good, just saying. But I don't know why they're so good in preseason. It's just what they do. Okay, let's get into NFL player props. Yesterday, broke down the NFL East. Today, breaking down the NFC East player props. Let's start with Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jared, because you know you love some Red Hot Chili Peppers and Red Hot Chili Peppers, okay? First one, you give me an over-under 15-second, 30-second reasoning why. Ezekiel Elliott, over-under 875 and a hook rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean, no Amari Cooper for Dallas this year. Takes a weapon away. It's going to be Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and of course this rookie sensation, Jalen Tolbert, who's drawn a ton of attention in the market so far. And it's all about Terrence Smith, the right tackle for the Cowboys. That's going to be the bread winner for this offensive line. And I'll be honest, I don't love this number. I think Zeke's got some tread on the tires. I think the under yards is where I would go just because he hasn't played in enough games over the last few years really to hit this number. And like we've said before, 75% on average season-long player props stay under. So we've got 4 player props on the board we're doing here. 3 of them on average are going to stay under. So I'll go under on Zeke.
Guess what? I have 2 over player props today. One of them's on Ezekiel Elliott. It's not his rushing yards, though. We'll get into that after Red Hot Chili Peppers. What about A.J. Brown? Over under 1025 and a half receiving yards for our boy A.J.
I mean, he's got Devontae Smith on the other side. He's got Jalen Hurts, who looked really good in that first preseason game last night against the Jets. But listen, he only had 869 yards last year with Ryan Tannehill. And that was with Derrick Henry in the backfield. Now, he was hurt for a lot of the season. But I think, again, availability with A.J. Brown is the biggest issue. And I think when you look at these high total receiving yard, rushing yard player props with the skill guys, they are more susceptible to the soft tissue injuries. They are more susceptible to missing a week or two here or there just to stay fresh for the playoffs, especially a team like the Eagles that have postseason aspirations. So I can't in my right mind bet an over on a guy that didn't go over last year. And let's be honest, the Eagles are a running team. So I would say under on A.J. Brown, despite the fact that I think he's going to have a good season. I think, under is my vibe for a lot of these player props.
What about Saquon Barkley? He could be the comeback player of the year, too. 1,300 and a half rushing plus receiving yards. Are we feeling over? Are we feeling under?
Yeah, I think this is one I would consider to the over because I like the fact that I get rushing and receiving. And I think on a week-to-week basis, it's hard to pinpoint if Saquon will be more of a threat rushing or receiving. I think that's a week-to-week thing based on the defenses he's going to face, based on the system, based on, if the Giants are ahead or behind, the kind of game it's going to be. So I think this is one I would consider the over on. But how can you bet an over on a guy that hasn't stayed healthy? How many games has he played in his career? So, it's injury. I struggle with the injuries with these overs. I think this is an under 2, even though this is of the offensive players we've talked about today. This is the only one I would consider betting the over, but I'm not getting to the window on it. I think I'm kind of neutral on this one.
So now that you're only betting the over maybe on this one, what about Micah Parsons over under 10 and a half sacks for Micah Parsons this season?
Yeah, this is one I would bet the over on.
That's the only one we got the over on.
He had 13 sacks in his rookie year last year. And he only played in 16 games. He missed a game. He was the rookie of the year, very well deserving rookie of the year. We were on that bet preseason. I think of the four that we talked about today, like I said, on average, 75% of NFL season-long player props stay under. So that means I'm required by at the law of averages to pick an over in this group. I think this is the over I would pick. Micah Parsons over 10.5.
I like it. I really do. Okay, so you talked about how a lot of these props go under, about 70%. Is it bad that I'm on two overs for the season?
Yes.
Ezekiel Elliott, rushing touchdowns. I'm on his over. So here's the thing: is you can make the choice at this point. On FanDuel, it's set at 7.5, and it's juiced to 26 cents. You're only laying 26 cents for it. On DraftKings, it's set at 8.5 right now, and you're only laying 15 cents for it. So you can kind of choose which one you feel a little bit more comfortable in. I bet it on FanDuel at 7.5, laying 26 cents for it. I like this bet because of how they split their backfield workload. So in 6 seasons in Dallas, he's averaged about 9.3 touchdowns per season. Now, I know Tony Pollard is there. He has really big playability, but here's the thing for me is he has a little bit of durability issues. He only has 3 carries inside the 10 last season. Zeke is healthy this year. He wants to have a big season. And I think he's going to get a lot of the goal line carries in an offense that's extremely high powered. And this could pay off well for him. He ran for over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns last year, and he wasn't at 100%. So why can't he get over 7.5 this year? And the fact that he's averaging 9.3 touchdowns per season in his 6 seasons in Dallas, even 8.5 could be a good bet if you don't want to bet as much juice in this spot. So Ezekiel Elliott over rushing touchdowns. I really, really like that one. The other one I'm looking at, and I know you said you're taking the under for A.J. Brown, but I really like Jalen Hurts over 3,550.5 passing yards, and I'm only laying 5 cents for it on DraftKings right now. Last season was the tale of 2 seasons for the Eagles. Early, they relied heavily on the passing game. They went 2-5. Not great. Then they switched it up. They generated the best rushing attack in the NFL, finished 9-8, got themselves a playoff berth, and they led the league in rushing with 2,715 yards. Even though they ran it a lot last season, you look at Jalen Hurts and how he improved as the season went on. He finished with about 3,200 passing yards and a 61.3% completion percentage, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He also became a really big part of their rushing game. He led the league in rushing yards and touchdowns among quarterbacks in the NFL. That's the one thing that worries me about this prop is the amount that they run this ball. But in the offseason, they traded for A.J. Brown. Between him and Devontae Smith, they have one of the best receiving cores in the NFC, in my opinion, and a scary, dangerous offense in general. Why not? I'm taking the over. I'm rooting for the Eagles this season. I think that they could have a really good year. So I like the over 35.50.5 passing yards and only laying 5 cents for it. Why not? Do you kind of
Here's why
could
I
you
like
kind
Zeke.
of see that happening, or how do you feel?
Well, the Zeke one, the first thing I'll say is I wouldn't play 8.5 minus 115 because I think 11 cents for one touchdown is not enough juice to move.
Yeah.
If it was like
Totally.
plus money, I would play the 8.5, but 11 cents I don't think is a fair difference between 7.5 and 8.5 from minus 126 to minus 115. So I would just do 7.5. And
Play the 7.5
I think the
FanDuel.
Zeke number, you're right. He is the goal line guy. So while they might not, he's not like a guy that's going to bust a 50-yard run, which will help the yards, which is what we talked about earlier. He is a guy that's going to get more looks inside the 5-yard line because he's the most reliable and he's the goal line guy. So I think if I were going to play an over on Zeke, touchdowns is the way to go. And with Hurts, listen, I think the number's fair. He played in 15 games last year and he had 31.44. So if he plays 7, if you extrapolate that to 17, he'd go over 35.50.
And adding
that'd be only about 200 more yards per game. So I think that's a fair number. But again, I think that's a games played. Like if Jalen Hurts plays 17 games, you're going to go over 35.50. So I think that's probably how I would look at that. But yeah, I can't.
Well, keeping our fingers crossed.
Either of those bets.
Yeah, keeping our fingers crossed. I don't know if this is too soon that he doesn't pull a Zach Wilson early in preseason. So fingers crossed on that one. I don't know if that's too soon. I'm sorry. Okay, let's move on from the field to the ballpark because we got some MLB action to talk about today. Red hot. I'm actually heading into the studio right after this to work the Braves doubleheader today. So busy day for LJ. But let's bring in John Laghezza, MLB writer for The Athletic, to chat MLB action today and tonight. John, first of all, how are you? Happy Saturday.
Hey,
Hey, what's
John.
up? Thanks for having me. Yeah, no days off around here, no rest for the weary during baseball season. Of course, you managed to stick me with a little Zach Wilson. I know I'm a big Jets fan, but I didn't think
Me
they were very
too,
good to begin
John.
with.
I got the helmet here. Look at this.
Yeah.
Hey, you
Hold on,
I
got
I'll tell
haven't
you
got
one
my
more thing.
backdrop fully up yet, but I
Yeah.
got the
I'm
helmet.
wearing Jets
One more
colors,
thing.
so
Good luck trying to get me to go over on an NFL player prop. Good luck with that.
Very
Listen,
hard. I
I
agree.
wait.
I think
Here's a
I
one thing
lean
I know we're
unders
doing
on most.
baseball. I let the public juice all the totals up because they never go down. They only go up. And then right before kickoff that afternoon, you pick all the best ones. You divide R by that many. You smash all the unders, and you collect at the end of the season. I just do this every single year. I'm not smart. It's just a war of attrition. It's just math.
I love it. War of attrition, John. Speaking of war of attrition, we got a lot of MLB action to talk about today. The Padres in the midst of a war right now. We're going to get into your bets in a second. But first of all, we always start our MLB segment off with this show called Is the Trend Your Friend? I pick different trends that I see in Major League Baseball, and you tell me if you'd friend the trend, if you'd fade the trend, or if you just pass totally on the
Okay.
trend. So I have 4 of them for you today. We'll start with the Dodgers run line. They're 11-0 on the run line in their last 11 games as favorites. Are you making a friend in the Dodgers
Wow.
today?
I mean, they're very good. That's a good reason to back them. They're a 3-phase dominator, right? When you're talking that kind of pitching staff, offense, plus bullpen against weak competition, that's a better reason to back the Dodgers than how many times in a row they win. I'm very hard to sway with trends. I really don't care about that kind of stuff. I'm sorry.
Jared, how do you feel about the Dodgers?
Yeah, Heaney Keller today. Heaney's only making, I think, his 4th or 5th start of the year. Keller's been bad, for lack of a better word. So, yeah, I would say Dodgers run line would be the way to play this, especially on the road. I like playing run lines favorites on the road because then you don't have to worry about the one run in the bottom of the 9th ending it. And, in the top of the 9th, they can keep scoring. I know that's not a huge factor most nights, but it's something to consider. And I would say that's a trend that's very intriguing. So, sure. Friend me,
A
LJ.
run
They're
Friend me.
expensive, though, right?
9. Yeah, it's a little
They're expensive.
expensive.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm cheapskate. I'm
absolutely.
allergic to juice. I'm the worst. I'm the worst handicapper.
Okay, you talk about the run in the 9th. What about a run or lack thereof in the 1st? The Twins take it on the Angels, the Nerfy. The Twins 8-0 to the Nerfy in their last 8 against the AL. John, how do you feel?
Oh man, I'm afraid I'm not going to get invited back. I would generally avoid these plays altogether. I find them very hard to handicap. I think it's wonky. I think it's a little too exciting for me. I thought, I pushed F5 betting to the 4 because I felt eliminating the variable of bullpens was a plus EV move. I think maybe amputating those last 4 innings might be jumping the shark a bit. Again, there are definitely situations where that could work. I'm too into the pricing and how I think I can model these things to put myself in that, strong probabilistic scenario to win. Like, how do you really gauge that? Are we looking at fastball velocity in inning 1 and how it degrades and looking for first run ERA? Like, how reliable is that? I just worry about the wonkiness of that stuff. I put so much time into my model. I'd rather stick into the things I feel maybe allow the numbers to play out more in our favor, I think.
Jared, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a way to track these, and there's a way to gauge how pitchers do in the first inning. I've spent way too much freaking time on it this year. But Bundy, Reed Detmers, I'm not seeing a lot of Nerfy love here. Bundy's under 70% hit rate since 2019. Detmers is 10-7, and he's under 500 to the Nerfy at home this year. I'm actually fading Detmers later in our walks parlay. So I will fade this trend. I think this is a Yerfy game. Twins, Angels.
Yerfy game. I will say the Nerfy, no runs first inning, went 10-4 yesterday. They hit it at 55.6% in August, up 37.92 units since July 1st, if you bet all Nerfies.
Wild.
So pretty crazy stuff. Okay, 2 more for you, and one of them, John, is going to lead right into your bet. But this one, the Orioles run line. The Orioles have been red hot recently, 8-0 in their last 8 as run line dogs. How do we feel about the Orioles right now that are in playoff contention at this point?
Now we're speaking my language when we're talking about a bet that starts with a plus in front of it. Those are the teams that I like to back. Teams that, listen, the public does what the public does. They marry themselves to narratives based on laundry, and that's not how we determine winners in baseball. Baltimore changed the dimensions of the park to fit the staff that they were trying to mold. We've also seen a new front organization there, and guess what? Guys like Austin Voth are viable. So we got to be careful with those narratives I mentioned. Baltimore, they hit, and they're taking advantage of that, and they've begun to groom some really elite relievers. Again, nothing to sneeze at. One of the reasons why Baltimore was so very bad last year. I love to get on these upswings. I generally talk about teams and players in terms of sine waves. Now, I don't think the Baltimore Orioles are going to win the World Series anytime soon, but I do think we're near a top sine wave. So I think while you can get it before the public buys it, especially when we have pitching edges, Baltimore is definitely an underdog team to back. I love when they score, right? A lot of times the underdog teams, they just don't score. The Pirates and the Tigers, down 1 or 2, you feel like it's a lost cause. Baltimore has some stick.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, last one. Last but not least, Jared, and I want to get your thought on this first because it's going to lead me right into John and what he has betting for this game. The Nats against the Padres, Jared. How do you feel about the over? The Nats are 9-0 to the over, and their last 9 is underdogs against the Padres.
You Darvish Animal Sanchez today. Darvish's numbers are, and both guys have average numbers against the other lineups with relatively small sample sizes, under 60 at bats for Sanchez, only 33 plate appearances for Darvish. The bullpen for the Nats has been really bad. I would say anytime the bullpens stink, I always lean over. So yeah, I'll friend this one. I'll take the over.
We have a friend today. I love it. John, how about you? Because I know that you're putting the Padres into a parlay, and they've had some stuff going on over the last 24 hours. Juan Soto returning home, gets a standing ovation. Fernando Tatis Jr. has illegal substances in his body, now suspended for 80 games.
Well, that team, definitely no shortage of excitement in San Diego by that beautiful aquarium, but they're excellent. I think Jared's theory is probably well placed. And I think one more thing people should be considering is with the extra inning rules, you always want to lean over. Okay, those are not lean under games anymore because of the runner beginning on second base, right? We begin a match play game where that, I mean, I have seen 1-1 games that end up over in extra innings. So his theory is definitely sound. My worry is whether or not the Nationals are going to score all today. And when I do that, I think of like that big optometrist thing. Like, click in, click. Maybe we can zoom in a little bit. They're better or worse, better or worse. Let me see if I can make this one a little bit better. Yes, I do have the Padres to win, but I can't recommend that kind of juice. I'm going to get run out of Brooklyn if I do that. So I want to pair the money line with another heavy favorite, Arizona. We could get that maybe in a little bit. Whenever you pair favorites, make sure you're getting at least 20% above plus 120. Let's get into the thing that I love, this granular analysis and these player props at San Diego. All right, going up against Anibal Sanchez, 7.5 ERA, 1.6 whip, 9.16 OPS, that's an issue. The deserved ERA north of 6, the FIP north of 7, 6% K- walk is an issue. That leads to the 23% C-W, which means what, everybody? He has to force the ball into the zone. That's when you begin to look at contact rates. His in-zone contact rate is up above 90, and then what kind of contact is it made? Well, it's bad news for Mr. Sanchez. 47 fly ball, 42 hard hit equals what? Yes, you, the handsome fellow in the back, 3 home runs per 9. That's why this guy's getting yoked up constantly. Righties have a 355 batting average year to date, with an 11.23 OPS and 5 Shamalama ding-dongs. The problem is that fastball. You cannot have a 90-mile-an-hour fastball with 17 inches of vertical drop. Everybody, just to oversimplify it, steep in, steep out. That's what the problem has been. Give me Brandon Drury. Do you know the Muffin Man? He lives on Drury Lane since he showed up with the Padres. Check out this is my new D-Gen triple slash. I've been pushing this to the fore of betting baseball. Average, OBP, and slug are meaningless. We're here to make money. I'm using BA, ISO, OPS. Let me show you why. Brandon Drury, 353 BAA, 588 ISO, 1396 OPS. Why does this matter? OPS is great, but it includes walk rate. Walks are not counted for total base props. That's a number one question that I get. You want to be looking at isolated slugging. It's a measure of extra base hit rates. There you go. 588 ISO is a 59% extra base hit rate. He should only need 2 or 3 at-bats. If that number's over 25, we're looking for 4 at-bats. If it's over 33, we should just be looking for 3. And if we can zoom out a bit, remember, Annabelle forces the fastball. Drury against fastballs on the year from righties, a 16% barrel rate. So the underpinning statistic.
Oh no, he froze.
Oh no, we lost John.
Oh, but that was sweating, man. Nothing better.
John. Wait, John, you froze for a
back.
second. You're back, baby.
Continue,
I love it.
The
Continue,
suspense is
John.
killing me.
You
I
got
don't
the
know where it
energy
dropped
flowing.
off. Yeah, I think I knocked off my own Wi-Fi. I derailed FiOS. I'm gonna get a message. They're gonna expect me to overpay now for the amount of data I'm driving, words per minute. I don't know where it left off. Brandon Drury's really, really good. Hopefully you got a laugh.
We got most of your Drury cap, so we're good there.
All right. Okay. So he's very good at hitting right-handed fastball, 16% barrel in the year. The double-digit plus plays here for total base props have really been a wonderful source of edge, and the proof has been in the pudding. You could pair these every day, and if you only hit one of 2, and they're both at plus 110, you're talking about a 10% gain. Where the average bettor thinks of that as a loss, the average day trader thinks of that as a
win to me.
Yep.
Anytime I finish the day with
more
more money than I started, John, it's a win. I don't care if it's 1 penny. It's a win.
Palms up, greater than sign, palms down.
100%.
Absolutely. I'm not a day trader, but I am an average bettor, and I do like making money, John. We so appreciate you coming on. So recapping your bets, you have a money line parlay on the Padres and Diamondbacks at plus 125. Jose Altuve bases over 1.5. Brandon Drury bases over 1.5. John, we so appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
That was so much fun.
Great job, John.
I had a blast. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Nice meeting you guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Nice
it,
meeting
buddy.
you too. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Thanks.
That was John Laghezza, MLB writer for The Athletic, chatting MLB action with us. All right, let's get into our bets. I have 2 strikeout props. One of them is my best bet of the day, so I'm going to save that on Corbin Burns. I think he's going to absolutely light a flame tonight. We'll get into that in a second. Lucas Giolito, that's my other one. Under 7.5 strikeouts. I usually go to the over for these strikeout props because I like rooting for a lot of these players, but I cannot see Giolito getting to 7.5. I know it's a little juicy. I'm laying 40 cents for it, but the juice is worth the squeeze. His numbers aren't the prettiest. I know the Tigers' numbers are even worse. Tigers are only hitting 178 this month, 3 home runs in 11 games, and striking out at a 31.7% rate this month. That's not good. They're averaging 14 strikeouts per game in their last 3 games. And Giolito actually has some decent numbers recently. 16 strikeouts in his last 15 innings pitched, but he hasn't hit this number in any of the last 5 games. And he's only hit it once in his last 10 starts. So I'm leaning the under, even though the Tigers are striking out a lot. He hasn't really even gotten close. He's like been 3, 4, and then he hit it in 1 game with 8. So he just got over the edge. So I kind of like the juice for this one, laying 40 cents, Lucas Giolito, under 7.5. Not fading my Tigers here. I'm fading Lucas Giolito. All right, let's walk this way. Walk this way in the upper lane.
Wow. Those are impressive pipes. Giolito looks like a stone cold under today. So I'm seeing right now a massive, massive trend on 7.5 to the under. This line should be like minus 200 based on what I'm seeing. So, yeah, it should be actually almost minus 300 based on his hit rate this season. So I know minus 140, whatever, seems like a lot of juice for you guys, but it's not when you consider what his actual hit rate is. And that is a point that I want to hammer home because last night we hit our walk this way parlay. We had 2 of them that are over minus 200, but I don't care what the price is as long as it is lower than what the implied rate of the price should be. If it's minus 300 and it should be minus 400, I don't care if it's juicy. It's still cheaper relative to what the price should be. And that's how I feel about my 3 walk props tonight. Let's start with Reed Detmers. Over 1.5 against the Twins. 68% hit rate on the season, 15 out of 22 starts. That equates to minus 214 odds. We're only laying minus 155. Very simple math. Nice cushion there. 16 of the last 25 left-handed starters have gone over 1.5 against the Twins. That's a 64% hit rate. That is the equivalent of minus 177 odds. And again, the bet here is just minus 155. This bet should be priced probably around minus 180. So I think at minus 155, we're getting some value. Zach Gallen only laying 5 cents here over 1.5 at the Rockies. 54% hit rate on the season, of his last 2 seasons. 28 out of his 44 starts over that span equates to minus 125-ish odds. So I love the fact that we're only laying minus 105 here. 12 of the last 21 righty starters that have gone at least 5 innings at Coors have gone over this number. And again, Coors Field can be a bit tricky for certain pitchers, and Gallen hasn't pitched great there over the years. And he's walking 2 times as many batters per 9 on the road, 3.5, than he is at home, 2. So I love the fact that we're on the road here, and Gallen's been a little shaky this year against the Rockies team that has forced righties to go over 1.5. So we'll go Gallen over. Finally, Zach Logue under 2.5. 85% hit rate on this number on the season. Only 7 starts, 6 out of 7 have stayed under 2.5. That's the equivalent to minus 566 odds. And again, short sample size there, so I don't want to look too much into that. But he faced the Astros on July 9th. He only walked 1 batter, and we need him to walk 2 or less in this start for our bet to be a win. 17 of the last 25 left-handed starters have stayed under against the Astros. That's 68%, the equivalent of minus 212 odds, and this Astros lineup is trending down. Their walk rate overall this season against lefties is 9%, but it drops to 7.2% over the last 30 days. So again, this Astros lineup, which has been a high walk rate team overall this season, starting to trend a little bit down, maybe going regression back to their averages. And 2.5, I think, is a very high number for Zach Logue. I know it's juicy at minus 205, but I don't care because the hit rate says it should be probably closer to minus 215 or minus 220. So I'll give it to you one more time. Detmers over 1.5. Gallen over 1.5. Logue under 2.5 plus 377 on the parlay, going for 2 straight after we hit last night. What do you think, LJ?
Almost 4-1 odds. You love to
Not
see
bad.
it. You want to know what else you love to see, Jared? His 3-star play of the day is on the Pickswise.com website. What do we have today?
Well, Chadwick Wetzel agrees with our friend John Laghezza. He is betting the Padres run line against the Nats tonight. And there's also a total on the board tonight. Yankees, Red Sox. Take a guess what Ryan Hodges likes. You'll have to go to Pickswise.com to check it out, though.
Aaron Judge hit his 46th home run of the season yesterday. His 100th RBI of the season. Pretty incredible. The only guy that's had more home runs than that at this point in the season is Barry Bonds with 48. Never heard of him, right? Pretty incredible for him. Getting into our plays of the day, I'm going to start with mine. Corbin, burn, baby, burn. Disco Inferno. I think he's going to absolutely have a heater of a game. Over 7.5 strikeouts at plus money, plus 116. He has dominated the Cardinals in his career, especially this season. He's allowed 4 hits in 14 innings pitched against them this year. No runs, 21 strikeouts this season. Pretty crazy. He also has a 2.91 ERA in 55 2/3 innings pitched against the Cardinals in his career. And on the road, he's 3-1 with a 1.40 ERA in 25 2/3 innings pitched at Busch Stadium. He's a strikeout machine. 56 strikeouts in his last 42 2/3 innings pitched, and he's hit this number in 4 of his last 6 starts, including a start against them. So that's been pretty incredible. I like Corbin Burns heating it up. On the road, over 7.5 strikeouts, plus money, baby. Let's get it going. You like the Nerfy, which is also up a lot since July 1st.
The Nerfies are going nuts, and I'll add to your Burns prop. I'm definitely tailing you on this. So over the last 2 seasons, his hit rate on 7.5 is 57%, which equates to minus 132 odds. And you're betting it at plus 116. It doesn't matter what the Cardinals are. You're getting a nice cushion of plus EV value, just plus EV, not plus EV value, on a plus money bet there. So I love it. Love it. All right, let's talk Nerfy. I'm going Tigers White Sox tonight for my Nerfy of the day. Might as well just rename my play of the day to Nerfy of the day because let's be honest, they're my favorite bets this season.
You love them.
Besides the walks props, and we've had success with the Nerfies compared to the Yerfies this year. So Matt Manning, Lucas Giolito. We talked a little bit about Giolito earlier. LJ is on his under. Now, the one thing I will say about his first inning numbers, they've been pretty good. 67-25 to the NRFI since 2019. That's almost 73%, which is above the Major League average, right at around 70%. And his expected FIP lower than his actual FIP, 4.9 to 3.4. So you know how I like to look at those expected numbers to see if a pitcher is getting unlucky or lucky. In this case, Giolito a little unlucky in the first inning with that expected FIP much lower. Matt Manning's been fantastic over his first 2 seasons in the bigs. 18-4 to the NRFI. 3-1 this season with a 143 average against and a 1.0 whip. So his numbers have been great early on in games, and the lineups only make this bet more valuable. Why? Well, the Tigers have the lowest road first inning scoring rate in baseball this season at 10.9%. Yuck. The Major League average scoring in the first inning is right at around 28%, and they are well below that. They're scoreless in 6 straight and 14 of the last 15. The White Sox, also a below-average team at home in the first inning at just 23.5%. They are scoreless overall in 9 straight games. We're laying 20 cents over at the Westgate for this one. I would lay up to 30 or 40 cents. That's where I'm seeing the value. And I say Tigers, White Sox go NRFI for our play of the day. We hit yesterday, trying to go for 2 in a row.
Let's go. Burn, baby, burn, and hitting a NRFI. All right, I gotta go. That's it for us today. Find us on the YouTube channel.
I'm out.
Follow us on Twitter for Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Javara. Best of luck tonight, guys. We'll see you guys Monday. Let's get it. Let's bet it.